The NASCAR Xfinity Series race officially concluded for Martinsville Speedway, and Austin Hill wins one of the most embarrassing races in NASCAR Xfinity history. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Martinsville Speedway. We got quite a bit to talk about from this race. Let's go and talk about it. I'm not going to talk about all the stuff that happened in this race, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the racing etiquette. Tonight was one of the worst Xfinity Series races we have probably seen in the history of the sport. It might be the worst one I have genuinely ever seen. The racing etiquette was embarrassing. You know, the first 50 laps of the race, we don't have a caution. It's clean racing. Connor Zilisch dominates the early portion of the event. And then stage number 2, you get a few cautions from time to time, and there's a few wrecks that happen, but that happens from time to time early in a race in Martinsville. And then you get to stage 3, and oh my god, stage 3 was a crapshoot. You had big wrecks that happened that shouldn't have happened. You had Austin Hill, who won the race, by the way, drive straight through Christian Eckes going down the front straightaway, who got into Jesse Love, who then got into Carson Quaffle, who was having a decent comeback after getting in a wreck with Sam Mayer earlier in the race. He gets dumped later in the event. Then you had the big wreck that happened with like 30 laps to go in the race, where you had Christian Eckes get used up by his teammate a little bit. Then Sam Mayer just drives straight in the back of Christian Eckes, who comes out of his Daniel die, and Nick Sanchez and a bunch of other drivers get collected who shouldn't get collected. You get Connor Zilisch, who gets straight up dumped by William Sawash going down the front straightaway and dumped. You get Corey Day early in the race, who wheel hops in the corner as he gets moved by Sammy Smith going into turn number 1. And you got all this chaos and stupidity that is happening on the racetrack. There is a difference between racing fair and racing clean and demolition derbies. This is straight up a demolition derby, and it was ridiculous. We know the Xfinity Series can have a lot of chaos, but can also have great racing. And what's so frustrating about this race is that the beginning of this race was really fun and really entertaining. You had a lot of great battles, but then you would have stage 3 come around. You get a wreck, caution, race, little bit of green, then a caution. Then we go green for a little bit. Oh wait, and the caution with 2 more laps later. Then you get a wreck with 3 or 4 to go, and some good racing at the end. And then you get to the final restart of this race, where Taylor Gray has the race lead, actually gets a really good restart, gets back by Sammy Smith and Brandon Jones, gets a great run, down the back straightaway, takes the lead, coming to the white flag, making a really good move. Moved them up a little bit, but I think that was pretty clean. And then going down the back straightaway, Taylor Gray has the lead straight up. Sammy Smith side by side, I believe, with Justin Allgaier. He just straight us up, sends it, and just flat out dumps the leader of the race, Taylor Gray. Then he ends up wrecking himself. Justin Allgaier gets collected. A bunch of drivers get collected in the crash. Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed sneak through, and Austin Hill somehow wins this race. Despite causing multiple incidents in this race, he still sucked through, and one didn't cause the last incident, so I can't be mad at him for that, but I can be mad about some of the other incidents that happened in this race. This was insane. Ridiculously insane. And something in a race etiquette that doesn't need to happen. I get that short track racing from time to time can be wild and absolutely crazy. I think we all know it can be very wild. But there is a point where there's too much going on. You do not need to be bumping everybody and racing everybody like an idiot on the track. Because it seems like they either drunk the dente going into this race, like the ARCA race we saw earlier this year, or they saw what happened in the truck race in 2023, and they basically were like, yeah, we're just going to race like a bunch of clowns and a lack of professionalism, because that's exactly what happened in the race this afternoon. And it's a shame, because when the Xfinity Series can come here in Martinsville, where they're not wrecking each other for wins, it can be some of the best racing we have ever seen. But I feel like this race was just on another level. I kind of agree with Denny Hamlin at this point. We probably should start handing out penalties, because he was really frustrated, and I saw a lot of drivers chiming in. Bubba Walsh chimed in after the race, and I saw other people like Jeff Byrne, who said these drivers should have talked to people like Sam Ard and Tommy Ellis. I entirely agree. Where are the people like Jack Ingram and Tommy Ellis to help these guys? And by the way, whoever scared the guy in the truck series, the drivers in the truck series after the race in 2023 at Phoenix, yeah, that guy probably should go ahead and speak to the guys after this one. And I think that the people in the Xfinity Series need to sit these younger drivers down, because a lot of these drivers, they have a lot of money with them. Their mom and dad is paying for their rides at this point. They've got a bunch of paychecks helping them out, and it's leading to lack of skill and lack of professionalism on the racetrack. And I think tonight's race was absolutely embarrassing and one of the worst races we have ever seen in the history of the sport. Like I said, it's up there for the worst race I've ever seen. The Truck Championship in 2023 was really bad, but this might be the worst race I've ever seen because the Xfinity Series is so much better than this. It's so much better than this. I've seen great racing in this series. And to see what it came to tonight, just absolutely no class, no professionalism, and it just needs to change. Stuff like this can't happen at every short track. I really hope that there is a talking and sitting down, and I hope there's some penalties coming for some of these drivers, because some of these drivers deserve maybe some fights after they kind of get their heads knocked in, and some of these older drivers need to talk to some of these guys to calm them down, because tonight was one of the worst races we have seen in the history of the sport, and so much lack of professionalism. So now we'll go ahead and look at the race results and just get out of here. So Austin Hill somehow won this race, caused multiple incidents. Sheldon Creed finished second. Solid night for Sheldon Creed, was up front quite a bit in this race. Gets himself another runner-up finish, close to winning another race, but he does finish in the top 5. Justin Allgaier finished third. He did nothing wrong all night long. Got raced like an idiot. Still finishes inside the top 5. Good night for Allgaier. Came close to winning 3 in a row for the first time in his career. He finishes third. Hey, and a positive, Brennan Poole got a top 5 and 4, so that's really good for him. He was in the top 10 at the end and comes home with a very solid top 5 finish in 4th place. Good night for Brennan Poole. Sam Mayer finished 5th. Despite the fact he caused a lot of crashes and raced like a dumbass all night, he does come home with a top 5 finish. So not a bad night, all things considered, for Sam Mayer in 5th, even though he caused a lot of crashes, but another top 5, so his consistency is still there. Dean Thompson finished 6th. Had a pretty good night, got spun at one point in the race, and still recovered to finish in the top 10 in 6th place. Not a bad run for Dean Thompson. Daniel Dye finishes in 7th. Solid night for Dye. Had some incidents on track and comes home with a top 10. Legit had a top 10 car most of the day and comes home with a top 10 finish in 7th. Good run for him. Ryan Seek finished 8th. He got caught up in an incident in a crash. Does somehow finish in the top 10 after getting caught up in multiple incidents. Chris Wright got a top 10. Hanging the banner. In one of the craziest races, Chris Wright really did nothing wrong and actually got a top 10. I got to praise him for that because he actually got a top 10. First career at Xfinity top 10, I believe. So a solid night for Chris Wright. And Sammy Smith, who caused a big last lap crash. I think there needs to be a talking to for Sammy Smith personally. Probably some penalties need to be coming for Sammy Smith because what he did there was absolutely unacceptable and ridiculous. But he did have a good car, but he just dumped the guy who was going to win. He finished 10th. Jeb Burton finishes in 11th. Parker Reslap finished 12th. Eric Almirola, my pick going into the weekend, he finished 13th. Almirola just never had the speed tonight to be a massive contender for the win. The car just never had the short run speed. His long run speed was good, but you really couldn't tell with how crazy this race was. He finished 13th. Jeremy Clements finished 14th. Garrett Smithley finishes 15th. Patrick Sarapoli finished 16th. Got to give him a shout out a little bit. He actually ran top 10 near the end of the race and faded back and got 16th, but still a solid day for him, all things considered, for a guy that hasn't raced in Xfinity before. So a solid top 20 run for him. Josh Williams finishes 17th. Ryan Ellis finishes 18th. Blaine Perkins finishes 19th. And Carson Quaffle got dumped and raced like an idiot. I feel bad for Carson Quaffle. He finished 20th. Still got a top 20, all things considered. But he just raced like a menace all night long. And I don't think he got the finish he deserved tonight. He finished 20th because of it. 21st place finisher Corey Day. Corey Day did struggle all weekend long. He did get back in the lead lap and it got top 25. So that's better, all things considered. But I think he's struggling a little bit. We got to give him a little bit of time to kind of get developed on the pavement stuff, but he had a bad weekend overall. He qualified very well, but he struggled in the race tonight. He finished 21st. Brandon Jones finished 22nd, had one of the best cars in the field. Got hit by a Connor Zilch who dominated early in the race. Just made a mistake after Garrett Smithley spun out. But he had a really good run going. I thought he would be a contender for the win. Had a really good car. Nothing to show for it, though. He finished 22nd. Brad Price finished 23rd. Harrison Byrne got wrecked 4 or 5 times in this race. Had a really good car, but got dumped every single crash, it seemed like. He finished 24th. Mason Maggio finished 25th. Matt DiBenedetto finished 26th. William Walsh finished 27th. Connor Zilch finished 28th. He made that mistake early with Brandon Jones, but he had a really good car. I think he actually had the fastest car in the field. Led almost 100 laps in this race, but nothing to show for it. And to be honest, he probably should have been part of this race the way everyone was driving out there. I feel for Connor because at the end he was getting raced like a clown out there. He finishes 28th. Taylor Gray finished 29th. I feel terrible for Taylor Gray. Taylor Gray probably should have won this race. He led, I believe, the second most laps of the event. Nothing to show for after getting dumped by Sammy Smith. He had a very classy interview after the race, but I feel terrible for him because he had a really good car all night. He finished 29th. Carson Ware finished 30th. Thomas Annunziata, who had the rear bumper cover or something come off the car in front of Harrison Burton's car, he finished 31st. Nick Sanchez, he got dumped out of the race. He finished 32nd. Mai Snyder finishes 33rd. Christian Eckes finished 34th. Had a good run going, but got taken out in multiple crashes. Kyle Seek finished 35th. Gray Van Alst finished 36th. Jesse Love finished 37th after getting taken out, and finishing last in 38th place is Anthony Alfredo. So now, let's talk about a little bit more about the race. I've calmed down a little bit here after the last couple minutes, but I got to say this again. The racing tonight was embarrassing, and I think it's one of the worst races we've ever seen. We don't come here to watch demolition derbies. We come here to watch really fun and really good racing. If you want to see a local demolition derby, go to your local place that has a demolition derby. I don't want every single one of these short track races at Martinsville for the Xfinity Series turning into demolition derbies. I don't know what the solution is to solve this issue, but the racing etiquette tonight was just inexcusable, and the lack of professionalism really showed in the race. There's really nothing positive you can take from this race. I mean, the big positive would have been Taylor Gray winning the race pretty cleanly, and that doesn't happen because Sammy Smith dumped him. To me, just the racing tonight was embarrassing, and the Xfinity Series really needs to have a sit-down, and they need to clean it up. Because what we saw tonight was just not good for the sport, and it needs to change very quickly, and just the racing etiquette was terrible, and it was absolutely embarrassing, in my honest opinion. So, that is going to be it for my short NASCAR Xfinity Series race review from Martinsville Speedway, or what you want to call it. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's race. What are your thoughts on today's race? Let me know below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and congratulate, or if you want to, congratulate Austin Hill on picking up the win somehow. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hopefully the Cup Series race is better tomorrow. We've got the starting lineup video dropping for the Cup Series race here in the morning. We're going to have the Cup review, hopefully, depending on the weather, and we should have an SVG video dropping as well. Then, of course, on Monday, we should have a NASCAR news video discussing news over the course of the last couple of days. We got some Jesse Love news to go over. We've also got to talk about the Xfinity race again and the lack of professionalism in the event, and some drivers like Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, and other people like Dale Jr. chiming in on it, same with Jeff Burton. We're going to talk about people like Haley Ding and Shane Van Gisbergen, Cards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Eric Almirola, Chandler Smith, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Matt Benedetto, Junior Motorsports, all the good stuff we'll be talking about on the channel over the course of the next couple days. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.